Hey guys, welcome back. So this is kind of like a continuation to the gutters. So one of the things is what caught a lot of the leaves up top is you used to have a strainer at the top prevent the leaves from coming down into the downspout, and that's what kind of caused a lot of the water to back up into the house. So what we're going to do is a little different approach because it's easier to clean down here than it would be to clean up there. So what I've gotten from the home store is a gutter grate, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to put this to about here, and then essentially what happens is as the leaves come down they'll hit this and hopefully the water will shoot it out. I mean, this could be horrendously backfire, I'm not really quite sure yet, but just because, like, what if something gets stuck here and it just keeps on shooting water out? But maybe that might be a clue for us to put in a floor drain. But anywho, so basically we're going to have to cut this. This has a PVC piece glued in, and as you can see, it's glued in there. Maybe it might be a little bit different once we get that fixed. I did look at the clean out here, and it seems fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off, and there's a tool. It's called the socket saver, or it's called the socket ream or saver. There's two varieties. So you have this one here, which is a little more crude. Hey, Boost. And you have a CNC version, which has a cutter bit on it that's replaceable. This is a lot better, but you know, obviously there's a significant price difference between the two. When I first Googled it, I only found this one. That's why I didn't get this one, or else I would have just gone for this one to begin with. But today we're gonna do that and see how that goes. I'm gonna put it on time lapse because this is really loud and irritating to the ears. So hopefully you guys don't get that. Well, this is a pleasant surprise. This has been glued. You can kind of tell. You can kind of tell the texture on that. There's glue on that, but it is so old that it just disassociated itself. So, unfortunately, I did leave my rivet gun not here. So, this should just pop in, which is interesting because this is actually made to pop in a socket like that, not the actual female side of one. But this should come out. And then we should be able to, this really should be fastened to the wall, but it is not. That's something I have to, future Jason has to fix. And then this should be riveted. There's a piece inside here that's a lip that can be removed also. There you go. And that should allow this to slip fit on this. Hopefully better. Oh, there we go. And then I keep on having to open this more. Yeah, it's rather stiff. All right, does that look good now? One more. All right. All right. Now this essentially, ouch. This essentially has to be, I should find a spacer for this. So this goes in nice. And then this needs to be drilled and riveted, which is the next thing. Which seems like it should be okay. I mean, I guess I have to make a trip to the home store to kind of do that, but essentially that's what we need to do with all of them, just to make sure everything flows down easily. This is the other side, and this is something I find really silly, that they cut a cutout here. I mean, they could have just minorly arced this. I guess it could have been aesthetically less pleasing, and they just use sheet metal screws, I guess, which is fine. But it is arcing, and I think that bottom isn't inside either. So we're going to do the same thing on this side. hopefully, oh, this actually looks like it's already popped out. Oh yeah, it looks like it's popped out already. So let's do that now. So I know this is not really critical, but since these two are really close together, it would be nice to have them exactly at the same height. We do have a little bit of room for error, but one of the things I've been working with, and Cigman sent me out, was this laser level. I'm 100% sure I'm going to be using this for tiling and stuff like that in the house, but just right now, I think if you can see, it's shooting a level line across all the way to the other side, in which it is a little faint. So I'm not sure if the camera can pick that up, but it gives me an idea of where I should cut. And that should make both of these be perfectly level and lined up. So I might move that around just a little bit so more of the light shines on this side. So you see that line right on the gutter there, and for some reason none of these are fastened on together. They're just friction fit, and they just jammed it right in the hole there. So all of them come down, so I have to go up there and fasten them all together again. At some point I will replace all of these, I just don't know when. So the mic died on this, which is very unfortunate, but basically what I'm explaining here is, number one, these crimps are really bad. I don't know what they use to crimp these, but they've crimped the diameter from 4 inches much smaller. 2, they're not fastened. 3, it's pretty rusty, so I'm probably going to change these in the future, but right now, I just want to be able to redirect some of those leaves down here so it'll be easier to clean. And I'm also not quite sure, when I pointed up there, there's those baskets, and if those would actually catching leaves or not. So I need to go up there and kind of take a look at that. I'm just kind of saying how, talking about the Cigman laser level, how it's actually pretty nice to use. I'll put a link down below so you guys can check that out. But there's another one on this side, which I also need to do, which I do later in this video. I said do. I digress. As we look up here, there looks like there's some sort of like bird's nest or something stuck in that big square box. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be some sort of strainer, but they all seem to have it. So I might have to get up there and take a look at that. But this also seems like a horrendous design, because if you have to get up there and clean that, you can't even clean this from, you know, the gutter side unless you're prepared to fall off the roof. But either way, the goal really is to kind of get some of those leaves. All these leaves are actually really small from this smaller tree you see up here, to come down. And looking at the slope, to be very honest with you, I don't think any of those leaves are going to come down, or a very small percentage, but I figured any little bit will help. So here's the other downspout on the other side. And here I was under the impression this was properly fastened, but if you can see, there's just a screw that just sideways all the way in there. So I gotta go pull that out now. To no surprise, like the other ones, this is not very well fastened to the wall. They used a wood screw essentially to screw it into that bracket on the wall there, which was also very rusty and hard to get out. So unfortunately, this adapter, 4-inch PVC adapter bracket, was still very glued in here, and there was no easy way to get it out. So I had to chip this away, and I brought out the angle grinder to kind of cut it off so I could use the socket saver slash. So this is why I hate grinding plastic with like a new blade. It literally melts right onto your blade, and it kind of gums it up. Sometimes you can get it off like that, but it's not great. So I'm gonna cut the rest of that with a Sawzall, and hopefully I'll be able to get down to the end there, and then we could use the reamer finally. Well, that was glued in pretty good, and it's really old, so it's very cracked, so we just cut that off. And you can see, well, funny enough, actually I don't think we actually even need to worry about this, because normally what you do is you take the reamer, it's called a socket saver, right? So you'd go here, and then you would cut down a bit until it opens this up. But I just realized this was actually originally designed to go in this size socket. So maybe we'll just clean up the top, and that should be it. Obviously we have to reconnect that because it's not connected. It was just friction connected there. So I kind of did something kind of silly. So I wanted all of these white pieces to line up essentially, and so I cut this pipe at the same level as the one you see on the right there, but I didn't take into account the elevation change because it's sloped downward towards this side, so it's lower on this side. So after I put this together, I realized the pipe isn't long enough, so I actually have to extend that bottom pipe. So I eventually go back off camera, ream that hole all the way down to the socket, and just cut another 4-inch PVC pipe in there. This is that Vever ladder again that I'm using. Also, this was very difficult as a single person because number one, the drill, to actually drill through it, you gotta put some pressure on it, and I'm just falling off this ladder basically. Also, it's kind of dark. It's starting to get dark, if you can tell here. Boost is just hanging out over here. So this ladder's been okay. I mean, I do really like the portability of it. It's not the most sturdy or the most stable, and that first step is kind of awkward, but I'll put a link in the description if you want to check it out. And here I am realizing I messed up. Hey guys, I'm back. It's a completely different day. Now, normally the choice of fastening these would generally be rivets, and today there's a reason why I chose not to do rivets, even though I do have them. Rivets usually are a great choice because, number one, they're usually made out of aluminum, so they don't corrode. Well, they corrode, they don't rust. And two, they're semi-permanent. But today what I'm deciding to use is I have a big pack of self-tappers. Now, the thing you want to keep in mind about these are actually stainless steel, so they're not going to rust like a traditional steel one would. And the reason why I'm doing that is I kind of do want to be able to service this in the future in case I want to take this off and take a look underneath it, or let's say this system doesn't work real well. I want to be able to take it off easily. So that's the reason why I'm going to use self-tappers, because I can easily take them out. Though they are self-tappers, they do like to wander a bit. So I do have a drill bit, and that's what we're going to do. But it did rain a little bit yesterday, and you can kind of tell there's leaves inside of it already. So I guess it's kind of doing its job already by taking some of those leaves down and bringing them out to here. I don't see any excessive flooding, so hopefully it's not flooding this place. But today we're going to affix that, and I need to affix that up there, which might need a ladder, and then add in the new drainage grate. Later on, I'm going to build a door that kind of closes off this front piece here so water doesn't splash out and I could just easily clean it. So that should be nice and affixed now. Now, the bigger issue we have is we got to reattach this up there, which wasn't very well attached. So luckily there's that lip, I guess, which also is an eyesore, but this also would have been a lot easier with just a spare pair of hands, but luckily, like I said, they made that weird cutout there, which kind of allowed the pipe to freestand there while I bolted it in. This side went a lot more smoother just because I've already done it once, and I then moved on to the other side, which you've already seen. A prime example of why you should use stainless steel screws. You see this screw is super rusty. I don't even know if I can get that out. And our nice new stainless steel screws. So when I place these, I use the laser level to make sure they're both the same height. But one thing I did not account for or realize is the pipe is lower on this side and higher on this side. But I guess in the least, the white part starts at the same time, and the pipe is, they're both white. So there's a slight slope to this, so that's why. And hopefully, eventually I'll fix these as well, where they're supposed to be fastened to the wall, but they're not. But also at the same time, I mean, at that point in time, I may just consider replacing the entire downspout because it definitely isn't the prettiest. Something that I did forget to show as I was fastening away was the way how these two are crimped. So this one was actually really indented, and this one is really far out. And this one is not that big of a deal, but this one was really bad, and I just didn't record it because it slipped my mind. And with a self-fastener or a screw, it'll pull them together. But if you had, let's say, a rivet, it would be going in probably that depth, and it might not even touch. So for the top part, that was especially true. I actually used slightly longer self-tappers to kind of pull them together, but they were probably far enough that this, if I stuck this in there, would not have actually engaged or barely engaged, and then would have slipped and popped out. So in this situation, definitely using a self-tapper was better than using rivets. I mean, your mileage may vary. It depends on the situation, but here, definitely it made sense. And I mean, I could have actually used rivets on this because these are pretty close, but also at the same time, sake of consistency, I'll probably remove this when I get a chance and reaffix that in with a self-tapper. But also at the same time, I'm thinking these are going to be temporary because they are not in great condition. And at some point in time, I do want to replace them with white ones that match the wall of the house. And I need to power wash the bottom of this to get rid of all this staining. There's a lot of stuff to do. Back to familiar place. Not necessarily great, but familiar. I mean, this has been cleaned probably 3 or 4 times already. So this is really disheartening. I guess the plan for me, and the reason why I've been holding off on this is, 1, I've been injured, but 2, the hole is really too small, and I don't know what's really behind this, but if the hole could technically be expanded and all the leaves could, let's say, brush off the roof, I mean, that would definitely not be aesthetically pleasing, but it would keep water from getting into the building, which I think is more important than that. Also, take a moment to notice all those random weeds and random trees that we cut down. So I still got a bit over there, but you know, it's a work in progress. So today I think my goal is really just to get rid of all these leaves. So I'm gonna set you guys at one corner and I'm gonna start going. Also keep in mind, there's still pooling water here, which is not great. So I'm just like choking off something just flew into my mouth. Might have been a bug. Anyways, I'm gonna time lapse you guys and hopefully you enjoy my suffering. So I think the biggest reason I'm dragging my feet on this is I really want to open this up because I don't want to have to clean this literally every few days, especially during the fall. And it just doesn't seem like there's a good way to open this up without causing a huge can of worms to be opened. There's a drain under there. I don't know how good that's working, huh? Yeah, like I said, I could either do something about this or just recognize this is my life. I mean, I think ideally cutting a bigger hole would make sense, but I don't know what's behind this. And obviously I don't want to compromise the integrity of this wall. Obviously cutting a slot higher would make no difference really, just because you don't want the water to go into the house first before it starts flowing out. So you want to go wider. Something to think about. I don't want to put my camera in this because it's super disgusting, but you will see all the scoops of leaves coming off. Oh. Yep, I forgot how much bending down doesn't feel good. Alright. Also doesn't help, this ground isn't smooth, so any small leaves just get caught right in the grooves. Trying to get every single leaf right now is kind of like a pointless attempt, just because, let me just reach in there. Oh yeah, that's disgusting. Alrighty. It's kind of a pointless attempt because if you look, there's still a ton of leaves, so there's more to come. To say it, that's what we call in the biz good enough. It's supposed to rain again, so it makes it difficult to kind of work on this immediately. Oh, that's slippery. So obviously the 2 drains have sunken. So that, and do a 360 here, 180. That right there needs to be, can you even see it? Yeah, that right there needs to be leveled like the other side. I do think the holes on this side do need to be bigger, just because this side is closer to all the trees, while the other side is a little bit better. I'll show you the other side. The other side's not great. I mean, before it was like gross negligence. That's why it got really bad. But this side, it's not terrible. I mean, it could be worse. I think the side that I repaired is worse than this side, because this side, as you see, it's empty fields. It's a parking lot. It's not that big of a deal. So this should be easy going, and I mean, still pools water there, but that was because the last repair guy didn't level this at all. This side should be fine the way it is, I think. Obviously, it's going to get recoated, but this side needs to get re-leveled for sure in multiple spots. And I should consider putting some sort of net. The issue is, if you look, these leaves are tiny. These are small leaves. Like, if you're looking at, you know, these bigger leaves, that's not a big deal. It's all these tiny leaves in this thing right here that are fallen. And with a, I guess, large net, probably they'd still fall through. Maybe I'll catch some of them. But also keep in mind, a lot of it isn't necessarily coming from just the falling directly onto it. We have scuppers at the top of the roof too, and any leaves that go through there is going to come through and come here. Having a net here might also be a pain for maintenance for me. So I guess we just have to weigh out the pros and the cons.
There's been a lot of other things that have been happening this week that I might post some extra videos this week, but I wanted to keep this kind of short because it's already 20-some minutes, and I know a lot of you guys don't really like long videos. But I did want to say a special thanks to our newest channel member, that would be Timothy, and of course all the rest of our channel members as well. And hopefully everyone has a good week, and I might see you earlier than you think, so either next Wednesday or I'll be posting a few extra videos this week. Appreciate it. Thanks.